Alright, hello everyone and welcome back to Kottabos Space Program, where today we are having a look at yet another wonderful mod, this time in the form of EnginesPlus, being made by forum user AstroGamer, who I would like to add is actually a longtime viewer of this channel, so when I saw that he had an interesting looking mod on the forums, I just had to take a look. And what this glorious little piece of work looks to add into the game is a nice little selection of engines, go figure with a name like EnginesPlus, and these are meant to fill some of the gaps, as the mod maker sees them, in the current selection of stock engines that we have in KSP. So let's actually just jump right on into the VAB and take a look at what all this does have to offer us. So to start, let's grab ourselves a Mark I command pod for size comparison, and before we check out the engines, we also have a couple of fuel tanks to check out, which were recently added in the newest update for this mod, and we have this lovely selection of 3 different sizes of fuel tanks, which range in a 2.5 meter, a 3.75 meter, hold on, let's click down, there we go, and a oh god, what is it, 0.625 meter, there we go, and all 3 of these tanks are pretty much just carbon copies of one another, but in the different size varieties, and they all hold liquid fuel, varying from 40 liquid fuel in the small 0.625 to 4,400 in the gigantic 3.75 container. Very cool little fuel tanks here. No 1.25 fuel tank, of course, because, as I mentioned, all of these are liquid fuel tanks, and we already have a pure liquid fuel tank in the form of this one right here, the Mark I liquid fuel fuselage, which is just purely liquid fuel, so there was really no need to add in one in that size, though I would kind of like to see one, because it would just be nice for my little bit of OCD to have 4 of these all in the same sort of styling, as I do enjoy these tanks. They are quite nice looking. I love the little fuel oil there with the flammable logo. Very cool indeed. A nice modeling on it. The texturing could probably still use a little bit of work, especially with like the seam lines here to make them look a bit more stock alike, but overall pretty good little fuel tanks. I do enjoy them, and it is nice to see more different sized fuel tanks for purely liquid engines, because, well, liquid fuel is an important thing in this particular mod, as you'll see as we move into the engine category. Now, the first one I want to have a look at, let's actually get rid of these fuel tanks, we don't need them here anymore. The first one we're going to look at is the LV, is that an I5 or a 1.5? Oh god, I can't tell with that font, but it's the private liquid fuel engine, and this is kind of a nice little engine here. It's a 1.25 size engine, and it's sort of meant to fit in the gap between these 2 liquid engines that we have here, which is quite nice to see, because, you know, sometimes you don't need as much power out of one engine as you do for a specific mission, so it's good to have those in-between engines. And this one is actually one of my favorites in this pack, purely because it is by far the most stock alike. Again, good modeling, nice detailing, the texturing could use a little bit more work, but overall I'm actually pretty happy with the design of this one, because, as I said, again, it is by far the most stock alike of the selection of engines in this mod. But yes, that is the private, which is a pretty nice little engine. We have an alternator on it, of course. The engine has a thrust of 84 atmospheric, 100 vacuum, ISP of 270 atmosphere, 320 vacuum, and uses fuel at a rate of 2.8 per second liquid fuel and 3.5 oxidizer, has gimbling, electrical charge, all that jazz. Pretty good standard little 1.25 meter engine. Now let's zoom out a bit and head down to the Firework. Actually, we're going to need to zoom in for this one, as it is a 0.625 engine, and this just a tiny little engine. Look at this thing. I do actually like this engine for its usage. As for the modeling, it's I mean, it's essentially, oh god, I keep grabbing the wrong engine here. It is essentially just a smaller version of the Private, which seems to have been turned 90 degrees and made, of course, much tinier. But it is quite a nice little engine here. It has a thrust of 54 atmosphere, 60 vacuum, engine ISP of 270, atmosphere 300 vacuum, and uses liquid fuel at a rate of 1.8 per second, and oxidizer at about roughly 2.2 per second. Does have gimbling, does not actually have an alternator on it, so this baby will not produce you any electrical charge, but a very nice little small engine, good for tiny landers. I have been enjoying this so far. I made an interesting lander, which you'll see in a little bit, using a Mark I command pod and 4 of these. Pretty fun little thing. And the next engine that we have, this is the one we're going to have to zoom out for, there we go, is the AR-1M Plus Rottweiler. And this engine, oh boy, highly efficient, not a whole lot of power compared to size, and it's ginormous. It is a 3.75 version, essentially, of the, oh god, what is it, the Poodle? Oh boy, let's look around for it. See if I can remember where the darn thing is. Oh boy. And I'm not seeing it on this list, which is kind of sad considering how small the list is. But yes, it is just a 2-nozzle engine here. 3.75 size variety, and it uses quite a bit of fuel. We'll actually look at that first before the thrust at 20.2 liquid fuel per second, oxidizer at 24.7. Does produce a fairly decent amount of thrust at 562 atmospheric, 750 vacuum, and engine ISP of 255, atmosphere 340 vacuum. This thing is built for efficiency over power, but still actually a fairly powerful engine in and of its own right. I've quite enjoyed this engine so far in my testing, for much larger size crafts, of course, considering the ginormous size of this thing. And yeah, a very useful engine, if gigantic. Gimbling, of course, very good, very nice indeed. Now, the next one we have of liquid fuel and oxidizer variety is this A1 toroidal Aero needle liquid fuel engine, which is just basically ginormous upscaled version of the T-1 toroidal Aero spike. And it's just made larger and turned blue, effectively. I mean, it's a little bit different of a model, but overall pretty comparable to one another. And this baby does produce a lot of thrust. Holy crap, at 852 atmospheric, 1000 vacuum, engine ISP of 290, atmosphere 340 vacuum, and uses quite a fair amount of fuel at 26.9 per second liquid fuel, 32.9 per second oxidizer. And it does also hold its own liquid fuel and oxidizer, which is an interesting extra little feature compared to the regular Aero spike, which is purely just an engine. This also has a small amount of room for a bit of extra fuel, which with how much this thing sucks down fuel-wise, that is a good thing to have, that extra fuel there. And that is it for the liquid fuel and oxidizer engines. Now then we have 3 glorious nuclear engines, which are, I think, the main reason why we have these additions of these liquid fuel tanks, especially the one in the 0.65 or 0.625 variety. As, if we pop one of those babies on, there we go, and head down to engines, we have this horribly cute little engine. There is just no other way for me to describe it but a really cute little engine. It is the AI-N Vase, a 0.625 atomic motor. Oh my god, I love this thing. Let's just pop it on there and zoom in. There we go. It's basically just a short, stubby little atomic engine. I don't know why I like this thing so much, but I really do. And it's quite a cool little extra feature, because even, you know, for deep space probes, I tend to use a lot of the ion engines with those, but they have just horrible thrust. They're great on actual fuel consumption, but thrust is just awful. And so I've always kind of wanted to have a small atomic rocket motor, and now we do have one, a 0.625 one, which has a much higher thrust than an ion engine at 4.6 atmospheric, 20 in vacuum, engine ISP of 185 atmospheric, 800 vacuum, and just sips down liquid fuel at 0.51 per second. A very cool little engine. In my opinion, a lot more useful than one of these ion engines. Granted, the ion engine does sip even more, or less fuel, really. But still, I would like to get my probes there more quickly, so having one of these tiny little atomic rockets just makes me happy. Again, I like the modeling on it. Texturing could still use a little bit more work to make it truly stock-alike, but overall, a very, very cool little engine. Now let's lose these and take a look at the 2.5 meter Tsar atomic rocket motor here, which is a big one. Let's zoom out. Now these last two engines are by far the worst textured. I like the model on them, on both of them, but the texturing definitely still needs a lot of work. You can see that it still seems to be some form of work in progress on these. I hope those do get improved soon. But this is a very, very wonderful engine, though, as it is a just super-sized atomic rocket motor, which is beautiful. Now it uses has a thrust of 115 atmospheric, 500 vacuum, engine ISP of 185 atmosphere, 800 vacuum, and does use quite a bit more fuel than this tiny little guy here, but still pretty decent at 12.7 roughly liquid fuel per second. Very, very nice little engine. Of course, does have alternators so you can charge up. Very cool. And then the last one is the Supernova, a 3.75 meter atomic rocket motor. Absolutely love the model on this one. Again, texturing really needs some work before it's truly stock-alike. But you know what? I can live with it for now because holy crap, it's a 3.75 meter nuclear engine. It just, I don't know why, it just makes me happy. It makes me a little giddy seeing an atomic rocket that's just that huge. As for its stats here, thrust of 150 atmosphere, 650 vacuum, with an engine ISP of 185 atmosphere, 800 vacuum, comparable to the other engines here, and then SIPs, fuel comparative to the little Rottweiler engine here, sips it at 16.57 liquid fuel per second. A gigantic nuclear bomb basically strapped to the bottom of your ship. It's beautiful. So let's go and take a look at some of these engines out on the launch pad. I can talk. Okay, so I have 3 ships here, one of which the Astrotech rather, multi-space probe already is in space awaiting use, so we're going to take a look at the Astrotech Aero needle first, which is just the Aero needle strapped to some fuel, and we're going to launch it, and it's pretty fast, pretty good little engine, so let's just go and do this, and most likely kill whichever Kerbal we have on hand. I believe Bill will be in the hot seat here. Oh, yes, because I have the 3-person pod here. Oh, Valentina, you poor fool, your first mission in quite a while on my series, and you're gonna die. But yes, this is the Aero needle. Just, again, a super-sized version of the Aero Spike. Very, very powerful, though, if you need engines for a heavy lander on an atmospheric planet. This would be a damn good engine for it, because just look at all the power here. We're about to hit 1,000 meters per second and explode. There we go. And yeah, but before we exploded, we got to 1,200 meters per second in a very, very short amount of time. That is quite a lovely, very powerful engine. Very nice indeed. So yes, that is the Aero needle. That's all we need to do for that one is explode it. Now the next one, which, boy, okay, the Astrotech Multi-Atmo here. Now this has at the bottom the Rottweiler, then in the middle the private engine, and then at the top is that little lander I told you about earlier. I've been actually having fun with this little thing. Now, actually, I should point this out. I am using the Oscar B fuel tanks here because I wanted to use some of these fuel tanks, but radially attaching them seems to be an issue. Like if we try to radial attach down here, you can see it kind of puts it out to the side. Radially attaching things to these tanks goes perfectly well. We can attach stuff to the side of these new tanks, but attaching these tanks to the side of other things doesn't go quite so well. So that seems to be a bug at the moment, but if we did, say, want to attach something to the side of one of those, that does work perfectly fine. But let's lose those. We don't need them. That's just a minor little bug. Hopefully that does get fixed, but that is why I'm using the Oscar Bs. Now, it doesn't matter too much for these, because these engines actually do use liquid fuel and oxidizer, but for the one in space, I'm still using the Oscar Bs, even though they're nuclear rockets. But let's go and launch this baby. And now the Rottweiler engine, as I said earlier, that is really an engine built for efficiency over power, but with this tiny ship, I mean, that's meant to be efficiency over power for a gigantic 3.75 meter radius rocket. So for this tiny little thing, we could actually get into space with the one engine if we so desired. And here is the other bug that I've found in this mod so far. The flame effects for the Rottweiler are coming out of the inside of the Rottweiler. That doesn't seem very safe for an engine, but oh well. Just a minor little glitch for the time being. The engine itself, though, quite effective. As I said, normally for a gigantic size rocket that you'd use it with, it would be more efficiency over power, but for this tiny little rocket, we could probably get it to the moon if we wanted to. So let's just drop it. There we go, and start up our glorious little Rottweiler. That one's particle effects do seem to be in the correct spot. Always good. And yes, very, very nice little engine. We do have gimbling, of course, so we can freak out our rocket there. Always good. Let's just lower its throttle and drop it. And then down towards the Earth with our tiny little motors. There we go. I like these little engines. They are quite enjoyable little things. Boy, the Firework Engine, it's essentially a smaller version of the LVT-45, and, you know, very good for, you know, it's tiny little rockets to give them a little extra oomph, or, as I mentioned earlier, giving some nice little engines to, say, a small lander probe, perhaps, though we can also land with this. Oh boy, I'm trying to figure out when I should start throttling up to slow us down. Could actually use the parachute. I have that just in case for emergencies. There's an explosion. And throttle up. Oh, that happened right at the same time as that explosion there. So got worried for a second. It's like, oh my god, our engines are exploding. No, we're good. And I throttled up way too much and burned way too much fuel. That is the one issue with these tiny engines. They're quite powerful, but also, yeah, they just chug through fuel, especially when all you have is a little Oscar B container. There we go. And, oh god, too much. Wasted it. Not enough fuel to land now. Oh well, parachute. Emergency parachute. Always good to have on any craft. There we go. Beautiful. We'll be able to land. Waste the last bit of fuel. There is none. Yeah, I'm out. Okay, so that was the Rottweiler, the Private, and the Firework Engine. So let's head back to the Space Center and to the tracking station where I have up in orbit the, oh god, which ones? The Vase, the Tsar, and the Supernova. So let us go up there where I have, I believe Jebediah is sitting in this ship. And here we go. Just look at that thing. Look at how just massive it is compared to our tiny little lander, which, as I mentioned, basically we have the same lander design, but it's, you know, using the little tiny nuclear rockets. But yeah, let's start this baby up and check to see how our orbit changes. Look at it go. Very nicely, very nicely. And sipping down fuel for an engine of that size variety, or size classification would probably be a better way to put it. It's really just sipping down fuel gently and getting us quite a good little apoapsis in the course of action. So very, very nice little engine. I do like the fact that it's just an insanely massive engine of the nuclear variety. So let's cut that one down. That's enough usage out of that. Lose it. And then start up the Tsar. Again, another nuclear rocket, sipping down the fuel, and look at our apoapsis go. We will be able to leave the galaxy with the thrust produced from these engines. Lovely, there we go. We had lunar approach, and we're leaving our solar system. Beautiful, beautiful. And let's just drop this baby out. Oh, crap, I didn't throttle all the way down. Oh, well, there we go. We'll just move away. Come on. Release. Release, you fool. Oh, we're never going to release. And that thing just sips down fuel so nicely that it's just gonna last forever and ever, isn't it? Come on, let's wiggle our way out. Look at the particle effects, though, on the burn for this engine. That is just beautiful, having those 4 nuclear engines. And again, these are Oscar B fuel tanks with barely any liquid fuel in them. And it's sipping them, really, comparatively to the Firework engine we were just using. But look at it, it's just a beautiful, beautiful particle effect. And a glorious little nuclear engine. I quite enjoy this little vase engine. I don't know why, but this stubby little nuclear-powered rocket just makes me happy. But yes, that is going to be it for the EnginesPlus mod. I think that's about all I can show you from it. And yeah, if you guys would like to check this mod out for yourself, you can go and download it in the link in the description, as always. And yeah, I do hope you give it a try. It is a pretty fun little mod pack of engines and a couple of fuel tanks. But yes, I hope you do enjoy it if you try it out, and of course I hope you have enjoyed this episode today and that you come back for the next. But until then, thank you for watching, my friends, and as always, have a good one. Now poor Jebediah is going to, oh boy, just drift out of the galaxy now, because I had that on prograde the entire time. Where are we going? Oh, he's going to orbit the sun. Yep, poor Jebediah. Poor Jebediah. Later, folks.